Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's lecture on everlasting impact setting marketing goals that stand the test of time. My name is Loni Peterson, and I am a full time professor at CU Boulder, and I own a wedding and event planning company called LP Creative Events, and I am located in Denver, Colorado. Talking through goals and strategies and all of the great stuff we're going to talk about today is a concept I teach every semester to my college students. I think figuring out strategic ways to set goals and measurable ways to make sure you're doing a good job is essential to any business size growth. And the wonderful thing about this is it's applicable to anything. So, setting realistic marketing goals, objectives, strategies, and tactics are all the things we're going to talk about today. And I've also got a great worksheet that you can download at the end of this presentation by scanning a QR code that breaks everything down again for you. But when I teach this to my college students, I start this early in the semester because it's a little bit of a brain buster. This is not going to be created and perfect overnight. We're going to start with some ideas. You're going to rework. You're going to think through some things. You're going to have conversations. So, going into this process, understand this is not an overnight success, but it's going to take some time and you will get there, but give yourself the space and time to really get it right. Okay, so setting goals is the first step in turning the invisible into the visible. Let's think back to when you started your wedding planning business, when you offered your first package. It was all a big dream, it was a big idea. So, how did you get to where you are now? So, goals is the first step in making sure that those things happen. And as our businesses develop, as our clientele changes, as our services change, we constantly need to be redeveloping and rethinking these goals and how we want to accomplish them and how it relates to your business in that moment. So, why setting marketing goals is so important. If you just think you know what you're doing and you think people are looking at it and you think people are engaging and you don't actually know, you're wasting your money. So, understanding your target audience, how they interact with your brand and product, where they find you, and more importantly, are they telling people about you? And if so, why? And how can we capitalize that? So, marketing goals is going to essentially change the way you interact with your consumer, and it's going to be a way you can continue to grow as your business grows. Okay, so one more motivational fact here. Individuals who write down their goals are 42% more likely to achieve them compared to those who don't. And I don't know about you, but the first of the month, the beginning of a new year, I love to write down my manifestations, my goals, my hopes and dreams. And I will say 9 times out of 10, if I write it down, it happens. So at the minimum, we're going to be writing down our goals and we're going to take us through that outline all of the processes through this lecture, and you can think about it and really set yourself up for success. Okay, so while we're thinking about marketing goals specifically for this lecture, I do just want to point out that this process can be used for personal or professional purposes. You have marketing for your own personal brand. So, thinking through this process for your marketing goals for your business is today's focus. But perhaps if you've got something else brewing, feel free to utilize this strategy for lots of other things. All right, so let's go through some simple definitions. What is a goal? So, I think a lot of times when we work through this product or this concept, goals and objectives or goals and tactics kind of get interchanged. So, I really like to make the definitions clear here. So, a goal is a high level or overarching thing that you want to achieve. I also like to say keep it to 4 to 5 words or less. It's not a complete sentence. I think when my students who are going through this get too detailed in their goal, they have nowhere to go from there. So they hit a wall, they hit a mental block, they don't know where to go next. So, high level, overarching thing you would like to achieve is your goal. All right, so let's look at some examples. We'll do examples for all of these definitions here. And notice my first example here increase brand awareness. It's in a gray square. This is going to be my example throughout the rest of this lecture. So again, hypothetical suggestions, you will apply this to what means specifically for you. But for today, we're going to take a closer look at increase brand awareness. So our examples for goals: 3 words, high level, overarching. Another one, drive consumer engagement. Couple words, high level, overarching. And our last one, boost revenue. Okay, so these are 3 high level examples of goals you might write down. So moving on to our next definition of an objective. So objectives have to be numbers driven. Okay, an objective is the measurable statement to see if you are achieving or not achieving the thing you set out to do. Oftentimes, objectives are written and there's no numbers, okay? And we got to have numbers in our objectives, all right? And have no fear, I give you a formula. I love formulas for these marketing strategies because a lot of these concepts are complex. And so if you're able to break it down to a formula and make sure you have each of these elements written in your objective, you're going to have a robust and complete objective every time. Okay. So our objective statement will include context, an action, your audience for a duration of time, and a volume of something you'd like to achieve. Okay, so one fun fact about this formula that might be different from math formulas is we can rearrange where these are in the statement. We just have to make sure that each one of these things are included in our numbers driven objective. All right, so let's take a look at an example. So noticing that we are following that increased brand awareness as our example throughout, here's our objective: increase brand awareness among young professionals aged 25 to 35 interested in wellness and sustainability by launching a 12-week multi-channel digital campaign with engaging video content, influencer partnerships, and sponsored ads, aiming for 1 million impressions and 200,000 views. So I've gone through and highlighted from this simple objective statement which part of the formula is where. So notice we have 2 different times where context comes up. We have a simple collection of words that also include an action plus a duration. So again, it can be in any sort of configuration. Everything just needs to be accounted for. All right. So duration is going to be, how long are we doing this? How long are we researching this? How long are we running that campaign or an ad or a special price for one of your packages? And the volume is going to be how many inquiries you're hoping to get in, how many websites you're hoping, visits you're hoping to get, what's your click-through rate? Has it increased? Okay. So volume and duration to your both your numbers here, but 2 different types of numbers. And feel free to pause this and go back and forth and go back to these definitions and read through things as you wish. I'll be here when you hit play again. All right, so our next terminology here is, what is a strategy? So I want you to think about strategy being how. The strategy is how you're going to reach the numbers in your objective. And I want you to think about strategy as research, data collection, list creation, figuring out the best top 5 businesses, whatever that might be. Your strategy has to be research driven. And this is the essential part in making sure that your marketing goals can stand the test of time. If you make marketing goals and write objectives using numbers, data driven decisions, your goals will stand the test of time and evolve along with you. Okay. So strategy has to be research. Your objectives have to have numbers in them that can show that you've achieved something, or if maybe you came in a little bit under. All right. So we're building this giant outline, this complex idea by breaking it down into all of these categories. And our final one, oh, sorry, apologies. Let's look at an example. Strategy. Here is our research data collection driven strategy. So we're going to pull data from social platforms to analyze performance. You all have that on your Instagram business profile. What kind of likes? What was engaged most? How many views did your videos get? Pull that data. You're collecting those numbers. Another strategy could be researching the best paid advertising platforms for your brand. This is going to look so different to everybody watching this lecture. Not one business is the same as somebody else's. So you must figure out who's engaging with these platforms that these paid advertising sections are on. Are they your target audience or are they not? What is the budget in which you're paying for advertising? So you have to consider your best possible choice when you start attaching your advertising or marketing dollars to an effort. So again, our second strategy is to research potential best paid advertising platforms for your brand. And our third suggested strategy, as an example, is to research best brands and influencers to collaborate with. Maybe that's something you're interested in doing. Maybe you're looking at taking your services across the United States. Maybe there's a planner or another vendor that you are looking up to, would love to work with. Maybe there's an influencer out there you would love to work with. So, again, instead of just going, oh, they're cool, let's research the best brands and influencers to collaborate with and figure out why they're on your best of list. All right, so our final category is a tactic. And I often find that tactics are the first place people go. All right. And it's because it's action driven. Okay. So a tactic is an action driven statement that will help you achieve your strategies and subsequently reach your numbers and your objectives, and then ultimately hit those goals that you've set out for yourself. Um, when we get to tactics, and while you're writing out this outline, it's important to ask yourself, is this a tactic or is it something else? Because I often find that tactics show up as strategies. Okay. So it might be semantics, it might boil down to just starting your sentence with research, but double check yourself, play your own devil's advocate. Is this a tactic? When I lecture this in school, the example I use is back in my nonprofit days, we were talking about promoting an event to raise money at our annual fundraiser. And there were two event professionals on our development team of 15, which was lovely to have all of this. However, we were the two event professionals. And often in team meetings, we would get the suggestion of, oh, you should start an Instagram page to promote the gala. And while in theory, that sounds like a good idea, however, our target audience is not on Instagram for that nonprofit. Okay. They are the generation of handwritten thank you note, a phone call, a face to face happy hour, things that are in person. Our donor base at that time, we would have wasted staff time, money on marketing and content creation if we had said, sure, sounds great. Let's do an Instagram page to promote the gala. We would have wasted so many resources. It's imperative for you to understand who your target audience is, how they find you, and then where you should put your money. So tactics are those action-driven things. Send the email newsletter. Send thank you notes to your vendors you worked with all year. Ship gifts at the end of the year to your favorite clients. Again, pending what your goal is, pending everything else. But these tactics are your action driven things. Okay. This is your to do list. All right. You can get as detailed into date and time in which you send said email newsletter or keep it vague. But this is your action driven line item in your tactics. Here's those examples. All right. So it has to start with a verb. Analyze social media data and build in changes for increased engagement. So we're going to go back to that strategy of pull data from Instagram. Now we're going to analyze it. Okay. How many likes, how many views? So a lot of times this whole thought process feels, oh, yeah, obviously, duh, in my head, but we have to segment it out. We have to write it out. We have to give each action its own bucket. So we make sure the time we're spending is going to give us some return. So analyze that social media, create content, and book paid advertising slots, because what did we do? We researched the best paid advertising locations for your brand. And now the action of let's create some content, let's get those paid advertising slots booked. And then finally, create a list of the top 5 influencers and brands you want to work with and reach out to them with a pitch. Action driven. Okay, it's attainable. We're going to do 5 influencers or 5 brands, and we're reaching out to them with a pitch for connection. All right. And this makes sure that we're actually reaching out to the 5 best people and we're not creating this very wide net in hopes that somebody might reach back out. Okay. So, the other really important thing while doing your goals, objectives, strategies, and tactics is check your work. I am not a math whiz, but we got to go back to algebra and check your work and plug in those variables. Okay. So, we work backwards. Okay. So, we've started with create content and book paid advertising slots as our tactic. Does that correlate to research best paid advertising platforms for the brand as a strategy? Yeah, I think that looks good. So, does that strategy help me reach these objectives? Does it help me reach 200,000 views if I do a paid advertising slot? Will it help me increase brand awareness if I reach out to professionals ages 25 to 35? Yes, yes, yes. You have to check your work. If the answer is no or maybe, do not delete it. Just put it to the side, copy paste it, put it somewhere else because I guarantee you it will fill in another gap under another goal. Okay. So I always encourage everyone, don't delete anything because you probably got the right idea. It's just probably in the wrong spot. So then our final check is increase brand awareness. Yes, all of these things help answer that goal of increase brand awareness. So you've checked all those boxes. Okay. Great work. Always go back and make sure that your outline will fully align and connect back to the item above it. Okay, so let's build your outline. I've gone through and done a flowchart for your outline. This is going to get very webby. I encourage you to think about one goal at a time, okay? And build out one strategy at a time, okay? Take your speed at what you need, okay? Because this can get, like I said, a little brain busty, all right? So, we're going to start with our goal. We're going to write that objective that has context, audience, action, duration, and volume. All things that are measurable to make sure that we are achieving our goal. Okay. Now, under that objective, you're going to write that strategy. What is that again? How you're going to achieve those objectives, how you're going to reach those numbers in that objective. So, collecting research, pull data, create a list, whatever it might be. Strategy is your research. Now, under your strategy, I will encourage you to have 2 tactics, 2 action items that go along with that specific strategy. All right. So, this is where your math checking is going to start to play a role. Do those 2 tactics correlate directly to that strategy under that specific objective, which then connects to that goal? Where this starts to get a little webby is I'm going to encourage you to do 2 strategies, okay, which will encourage 2 more additional tactics. So this is a goal for one objective, all right? This is your outline. This is what we're going to try to achieve as you're thinking about building out your marketing goals that are going to stand the test of time. What strategies do I need? What are those things I'd like to do with my business? You might need 3 strategies. You might have 4 tactics. All good. Expand away. But here is the bare bones, okay? Now, it's all good. Don't worry. A second objective with all of the same things, okay? So we're going to hope that each goal has 2 objectives. Okay? And then we've got 2 strategies under each of those objectives and then our tactics throughout. Okay, so this is where the worksheet that I have for you with a QR code here at the end will be extremely helpful. It'll help outline everything. It'll give you a space to put in your ideas. But this is our beautiful marketing strategy web for creating goals that will stand the test of time. All right, so our quick and dirty recap. All right, we've got goals. They are overarching things you'd like to accomplish. Keep it short, keep it sweet. Okay, 3 to 5 words max. All right, I encourage you to maybe come up with 3 goals. Okay. They can be different, they can be similar, but with a different action output. So, thinking about those 3 goals that you'd like to accomplish, overarching, high level. Okay. Next, we've got those objectives, our numbers driven objectives. We got to have that context, audience, action, duration, and volume. This one's going to take the longest, I think. This is the biggest brain buster of the group. Okay. So take your time and think about what that objective is and how it's going to be attainable and what those numbers are going to be for measuring success. And then moving into strategies, the how, what research, what data collection, what information do we need to collect in order to answer those objective numbers. Okay, remember we're checking our algebra, we're going back up the ladder, we're checking our math. And then finally we have those tactics, those action driven items. And I encourage you again, be your own devil's advocate. Is this a tactic? Is it a strategy? Okay, where does it belong? Because tactics is going to help you stay the course, not be distracted by a shiny object, because sometimes those pop in and say, hey, that should be a great idea. But does it fall within any of your goals? Does it help you achieve any of your objective numbers? Is it information you would find using your strategies? So go back and check your math. And finally, thank you so much for sitting with me on this goals, objectives, strategies for marketing success. You can scan that QR code, put in your contact information, and I will send you the worksheet personally. Feel free to send me an email at Loni at LoniPeterson.com. You can connect with me on Instagram at On Stage with Loni, and then my speaker webpage there at the bottom, LoniPeterson.com. It has been so fun to share this strategy with you, and I wish you all the best marketing success and that your goals will really be sustainable and data driven, and that will grow with you as your business grows and as your consumer grows along with you. Please reach out if you have any questions or need anything. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.